We were originally called the Colonies because we were at George Washington University and their mascot was named the Colonial. So we thought that at the time we thought it would be a good idea to be like pretty similar to that.
Well, I appreciate you both doing this. This podcast is about the two of you really in the band and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new album and how you guys got to where you are now.
Cool. Sounds good to us.
Amazing. So the band is from what, like the DMV, DC area, correct?
Yeah, we started at the George Washington University, and we've been in the DC area ever since 2015.
Okay, well, Pete, where are you originally from? Where are you born and raised?
I grew up outside of Chicago originally. I lived there until 2014, and then I actually moved to Connecticut my senior year of high school, and that's where my mom currently lives now. So
Okay.
I would say like ever since just like coming to GW for college, like DC's just felt home ever since then.
Right on. Well, I guess hence the Bears t-shirt. I should have picked
I
up.
know, yeah.
Well, that must have been, I mean, not to get too in the weeds, but I'm just curious, like that must have been rough moving your senior year of high school.
It was a little rough, but it was for very understandable reasons. My grandparents were battling with Alzheimer's, and so they lived in Stamford, Connecticut, where my family currently is now. And so we basically moved into they were in assisted living, and so the house that they owned, they weren't living in anymore. So we basically moved into it. So the house that my mom grew up in and everything. And yeah, we were just there to take care of them in their final years and everything. So it was for good reasons, and I made the most of it. You know, like you learn in college, like you start meeting a lot of new people, and I already had that experience of how to meet people and talk to them because I had to do that senior year and everything.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your grandparents. That's awful, but
it's okay. Thank you though. Appreciate it.
Yeah. What about you, Joey? Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I grew up in like the Columbus, Ohio area.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have family in Cleveland, and actually my uncle went to Ohio State.
Oh, right on. Yeah. So I that's kind of just where I've lived basically my whole life. And yeah, similarly though, I just when we started school in DC, I mean, it's just like a hard city to not like kind of fall in love with in a lot of ways. And so yeah, definitely sort of made it home for the foreseeable future.
Right on. What about music? How did you get into music, Joey? Were you did you come from a musical household at all?
Yeah, I would say so. My dad is a drummer, and his father was a very accomplished musician, and so yeah, I sort of have always been around it and been around instruments, and I would say I came up through like the marching band, like school marching band
Oh,
scene.
cool.
So that's kind of like my background is more of like like classical music kind of, but I mean, I love all kinds of music. So yeah, long story short, yes, I did come from a musical family.
Did your dad teach you drums? Is that like what kind of took you to drums?
Honestly, I was originally a bass player. I was like a bass player all throughout high school. And I was in the marching band and the orchestra. So I would say like, no, my dad never really taught me drums, but funny enough, like his college roommate at the Indiana University ended up being my drum teacher many years later. So yeah, I was a bass player originally, but then when Pete and I met, it just became evident that it would be harder to find a drummer than a bass player. Or we didn't have a bass player in the band for the first year. It was the two of us and a keyboard player.
It was a lot like the Doors, where they had no bass,
no
and
bass player,
all the bass notes would be on like the very low end of the piano and everything.
Oh, interesting.
So it was like
very first year though.
Yeah, I was like, I could do either one. Like I was a decent drummer, and I thought I was like probably a better bass player than a drummer at the time. But I just, out of necessity, I just kind of stuck with the drums, and I've enjoyed embracing that for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, it's always funny just growing up. I mean, I never played in anything serious as far as bands went, but finding somebody that could play drums is always the hardest thing. And the drummer always got a chance to pick pretty much any band they wanted to be in if they're decent. It was like, Okay, well, yeah, or they're in like 9 bands. So whatever band they enjoyed playing with the most got the most attention, and everyone else's, it was like almost like a favor. Like, oh yeah, I guess I'll play with you guys for a
The
while.
same could really be said of like good bass players too. Like they're
True.
extremely high demand. We just happen to, the keyboard element kind of guided. I mean, yeah, that's just
It
sort of,
works. Right,
yeah.
right,
For
right.
the first year.
But yeah, I guess if you were looking for like a very talented, great bass player versus just someone that could play guitar and just play the root note of what the guitar player is playing, I feel like that's a lot of bands just have that. Like, oh yeah, like you could play guitar, like, well, you're gonna play bass because I'm gonna play guitar.
Yeah.
Well, when was drums the first instrument you learned?
It was
Or
probably
no?
like piano, like when
Okay.
I was young, and then I switched to bass, and then I played bass like in like middle school, and then still in high school, and I just I really wanted to be in the marching band, and like that drove me to like learn the drums.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, you said that you played bass through high school, but you were in the marching band, so I was trying to
Yeah,
figure out like, there's
yeah,
no
yeah.
real,
I
I mean, bass, right? I mean,
Something about it, like when I was, whatever, 13 years, whatever, however old you are when you're a freshman in high school, like just the marching band seems so cool. So I still think marching bands are cool, but I just had to be part of it.
so you picked up drums for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Well, what about you, Pete? How did you get into music? Are you from a musical household at all?
So I wouldn't say like my immediate family is like the most musical, but my uncle, I really have to thank a lot for guiding me musically. He actually has a ukulele company where he creates
Wow.
songbooks for the ukulele. So it's really fun to be able to like walk into a guitar center and see his books like right there, right as you walk in all the
Oh,
time.
wow. So yeah,
Yeah.
successful at
So
that.
he, because of like his ukulele business, like he started me playing the ukulele at like 4. So that was the very first instrument I ever learned how to play. And I mean it's pretty easy. 4 strings, like one finger on one string like makes a beautiful chord.
Mhm.
So that's like definitely my first introduction to music. Him and my aunt would at like all of our family events, they would sing songs on the ukulele and everything. So that was definitely a huge part of my upbringing for sure. And then it wasn't until like I was 8 or 9 or so, I thought it was really cool that we were my elementary school had a music class, and this one kid came to the piano and started playing the Imperial March, the Darth Vader theme from Star
Oh,
Wars.
yeah,
I thought that was the coolest freaking thing in the world. I
yeah.
really want to learn piano, so I did that. I took lessons for like that was like me like actually wanting to do something musically rather than like it being shown to me, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it's something that you sought it out and you wanted to play
Exactly,
yourself.
yeah. So I took piano lessons for a little bit, and then it wasn't until like middle school, I was like probably 13 when I started teaching myself guitar, and just like through no lessons, just like through the help of YouTube and everything. And then once I started playing guitar, the songs started coming as well. So started taking that up and been probably writing songs since I was 16 or so. And
Really? Wow.
yeah.
With that, like you said, when you started playing guitar, then you eventually started writing songs. Was that something that you were always interested in doing, or was it just kind of was a natural progression?
I think it was like a natural progression. I don't think I ever intended to be like, I never thought I had like a great singing voice for a while. Especially like when I was just starting off with the guitar. My mom told me to do choir when I was like in 6th grade, and I was like literally one of the only guys in the class. And so my voice like hadn't quite changed yet, so I was an alto. I wasn't even like a bass or a tenor or anything like that. So that kind of like scarred me from wanting to sing for a while.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
but
wife did that to our son too. She put him in, she's like, if you don't pick an extracurricular activity, I'm going to pick one for you. And he didn't. So she's like, you're in chorus.
but then eventually I wanted to become a good singer because like at a certain point, like once I started like writing songs, I was like, oh, I should probably be the one singing them. So I like wanted to practice singing, and then I started doing high school choir, and obviously my voice had changed at that point. So
Mm.
I was a baritone, and I would say I probably still am, although like my range has gotten like way better since high school, just from like the practice and everything over the years. But yeah, then once like I started singing like the songs, I started singing the songs I was writing. And then I was in a band in high school when I moved to Connecticut. That was like one of the ways that I tried to like brand myself as like as I moved my senior year, like to stick out like as like as a new kid, you know.
Sure.
And I joined a band as a guitarist, and I would write songs for we had a different singer. Her name was Lydia. She's so awesome to this date, but I would write songs for her to sing, but it felt really natural. I always wanted like to be the one singing my own songs too. So yeah, by the time college started, and then Joey and I met during freshman orientation, we started the band, and yeah, I was kind of like said that I would be the singer, basically, like the songwriter and everything, and here we are today.
Wow. Was it so you were in a band at the other school in the Chicago area? And
not in Chicago,
just when you got to Connecticut.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so
Front Row.
They're called what?
Front Row.
Oh, there you go. So you didn't start it. You weren't in a band at all until your senior year. Then it was just
exactly,
like,
correct.
were you showing people the songs you were writing, or is it just something you were doing for yourself?
I would show the well, I showed our band the songs I was writing, and
I meant like in Chicago area.
Occasionally, like I had friends who were in bands too. I would show them like what I was up to, but like I couldn't find a group for myself really. They already had like their group formed, and I would just hang out with them and everything.
Got it. And then so when you got to Connecticut and you had this band, was it like a serious thing? At that point, did you know you wanted to play music for your life? Like, was it like, okay, I want to be in a band, like this is cool?
Yeah, it definitely was. Like I definitely knew that one day, like I wanted to be in a band that would take off and everything. So yeah, it was like a practice run for that.
Sure. What about you, Joey? Was that something you were interested in? Like, I mean, aside from playing in band and the marching band and that, were you in a rock band or a garage band?
Not really. I was in the jazz band like at school, and I was in the marching band, the orchestra, and it kind of took up like a lot of my desire of that really fulfilled a lot of like the you know, musical like needs that I had. Like I didn't need to like find friends that we could play it together outside of school or whatever, because like, you know, I spent half of my school day like playing music, which was awesome, but I didn't necessarily like have to seek out more of that.
Got it. Did you go to school for music, either of you, or was it something totally different?
No, I really considered it, but then I like a mentor of mine in high school was like, who got like a music degree, was like, don't do that. Like you're either gonna end up a music teacher, which obviously is not a bad thing, but you're either gonna be a music teacher or you're gonna like, you know, have to find some other
gig.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I commend people and think that people should study music at like a high level. It's just like somebody once told me that I shouldn't do it, so I didn't.
So, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Well, I've interviewed a lot of people that went to like Berkeley and you know, Belmont and stuff, and it's like once you get the gig, right, or you get some success, the rest of the school thing kind of just becomes like, well, I'll just come back and finish it if I need to, or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you both met, you said, at freshman orientation?
Yep, correct. Before classes even started.
How did that happen? You just were hanging next to each other or something?
Yeah, like our I forget exactly quite what happened, but our like friend groups that we kind of made at orientation combined basically. And then I met Joey and we started talking about music. We both bonded over the Black Keys, and I mentioned I play guitar, and we talked about music. Like he said that he plays a little bit of the drums and bass, and we're like, oh, we could be like a duo band just like the Black Keys. But eventually that kind of we started writing music before classes even started, like by sending each other stuff over email, like in GarageBand and everything. So we had like 2 or 3 songs before class was even like beginning and everything. But yeah, then when Joey kind of like talked to you a little bit how he originally was going to go bass, but then out of necessity became a drummer. And then freshman year we added Luke Gibson on the keys, and then we were just a 3-piece for the first year of freshman year.
And were you guys Crystal Casino at that point too, or no?
We were originally called the Colonies because we were at George Washington University, and their mascot was named the Colonial. So we thought that at the time, we thought it would be a good idea to be like pretty similar to that.
Ah, got you. Rad. And then when did the name change? Was that later? I mean, much later, or?
Yeah, that was we decided in 2020 to change the name.
Oh wow, super recent then.
Yeah, so it was pretty recent, but basically like as we just became more educated on like race relations in the country, we really wanted to distance our name from the colonies and its ties to imperialism and colonialism. And yeah, we like pride ourselves on trying to have the most inclusive community that we can with our fan base. And we wanted a name to reflect that as well. We didn't want anyone to like dislike us just because of our name and everything. So especially in the wake of the George Floyd protests, like we knew that we absolutely had to make a change, and I'm really glad that we did.
Yeah. Wow. Was that confusing for people or no? It was kind of like
I don't know how confusing it was. I mean, I think we definitely have gained a lot more like momentum and notoriety since the name change. So I think like most people are more familiar with us as the Crystal Casino Band at this point. But like, I mean, there's still people like friends of ours who like call the band the Colonies. Like it's hard to like change. It's like that, like, you know,
yeah,
like,
they're just used to doing it, right?
it's like you know, an Ohio guy, like when the Cleveland baseball team changed its name, like there's still tons of people who call it, you know, the old name. And it's like,
yeah, I still call
like,
it the Indians, dude.
Yeah, it's hard to. Well, it's hard to. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's hard to like switch that for somebody, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, I understand the logic behind it, but yeah, for me, it's just my granddad, my dad's dad played for the Indians in the 40s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I have like, it's funny. We recently moved to Nashville. I'm from San Diego, and I was going through stuff packing, and I found like the letter that he got like in the 40s from like the Indians. And it's like the logo was like the most racist, racist one. I'm like,
yeah, probably.
Wow, okay.
Was he on the 48 team, the title team?
He drafted that year. So it's funny, in the letter he asked for tickets to the World Series. So it's like, sorry, because it was like mail, you know what I mean? You're like sending a letter, and then like he gets the letter back, and the guy, whoever was the GM or whatever, wrote like, sorry, we weren't able to get, you know, this is too late to give you the tickets to the World Series, but like here's your, it was like the contract. He was making he made $1,200 for the whole season. It's bizarre. But yeah, so anyway, okay, yeah, so you guys changed the name in 2020. What was the first kind of, did you guys have like a big kind of momentum moment, or like something that like validated the band prior to the name change? Or like, I know you guys have, you know, a lot of streams and a big following on Instagram. Like, was that something that came within the past few years, or did you have like a pretty solid momentum going prior to that?
I would say a majority of like the momentum we see today came afterwards, but we did have some big moments before then, where we got to open at the Anthem in Washington, D.C. We opened for Judah and the Lion there.
Oh, cool.
And we also got to open at the 930 Club as well, which are both of those venues are like two of like the biggest venues in DC. So we had some like pretty cool moments for sure before the name change and everything. But the name change was like the most everything before the name change was related to college, really. Like we just like played around campus and like fraternity events, like things like that. And then we started taking it a lot more seriously after graduation. So so a lot of the momentum really came after. Got it.
You hadn't mentioned 930 Club. Didn't you guys, you headlined there like a few days ago, like last weekend or something?
Thursday. It was incredible. I'm still not over it. Like the fact that it's Monday right now and we're like working is so upsetting.
So that was on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me about that show. That must have been so wild coming out there and headlining that venue.
Yeah, it was. We played for about 1,000 people or so, which is the biggest headlining crowd that we've ever had. And we played our whole album in its entirety, start to finish, and then did the hits after. Yeah, it was just a blast. It all just went over like that. Like, yeah, it went over too quick, basically. Even though we played for like an hour and a half or so, it was just like, yeah, that moment was unfortunately there and gone. But
Sure.
we'll always be in our hearts for sure now.
That's awesome. You said you guys, I mean, headlining or opening up for Julia Line, you had those things. Like, what was there another moment, or like, what did you guys have like a moment where everything kind of really changed, like as far as, or has it been kind of like a progressive thing? Like, was there like a viral moment that you had or something like that, or was it mainly just, you know, we're playing, we're staying consistent, and we're building and building and building off of that?
I mean, to me, it's felt pretty gradual. I mean, there's like milestones here and there. Like obviously, the first time we played 9:30 was a milestone. Like the anthem was obviously a milestone. Like I remember the first time we sold out a show. You know, there's like recently we've been doing some cool stuff on the road. Like, you know, we played in California. We've played all over the East Coast. Like there are little milestones, but in general, like all of it stretched over the course of, you know, basically 8 years. Like it definitely has felt, it's felt like a climb, like a sort of a slow ascent, but it's, you know, part of that is really cool too. It's not, I'm not trying to sound like bitter or anything about it. It's just like,
no, I would think that you would want that, right? I mean,
yeah,
if
definitely.
I was an artist and I had one song pop off on TikTok for 3 weeks, and then I look at my Spotify and one song has, you know, 5 million streams and the other one has negative or like less than 1,000 logo on it, then I'd be like, okay, well, obviously no one else cares except for that one song that in that moment. But to build, I mean, that's gonna keep the longevity of the band.
It definitely feels organic. I mean, I don't know if that's the right word, but
no, it is. Yeah, totally.
It's not, we have not like, yeah, we've had like some more viral moments on social media and stuff for sure. But it's not been like, you know, the result of some like weird little trick. Like it's
right.
Yeah, we've put in the time for sure.
No, I love that.
Absolutely. A lot of hours after the 9 to 5. We work 9 to 5, and then this is our 5 to 9 or 5 whenever we go to bed.
Yeah.
Sure. Wow. Well, tell me about the new album. It just came out, right? What, like last month?
Yep, it came out January 27th. It's technically the 6th album that we've done as a band ever since Joey and I started the band back in 2015. But this is definitely our favorite album to date for sure. We worked with our producers Kyle Downs and Jay Nemeyer. They're local to DC, and so we would go over to Kyle's basement studio every Tuesday of like the last year and basically just like bang these tracks out like once a week or so. We had a standing date where we just got together and made these songs, and they're all about like our experience living in this area throughout the years of 2020 and 2021, which definitely like the themes of those years like come into these songs, like because we were dealing with the 2020 presidential election, which was so polarized and intense. We were dealing with the pandemic. Like everything that was happening those years like bled into these songs, and also like things going on in our personal lives as well. So yeah, we're just like really happy that these songs are out. It's also an album that doesn't just feature my voice, it features everybody's voice, which is really exciting too. And it's really cool to see like how we've grown as musicians, like to the fact that everyone can now sing on this record too.
Oh wow, did you all have your own separate parts, or was it just like tell me about that? Like, Joey, were you a singer ever, and like going into singing on this album, was that obviously different?
I mean, I'm not really much of a singer, but we did I don't know if it was necessarily, I guess maybe so Jarrod, the other guitar player, I think he was the first one to like write and present a song, and like we decided he would sing on it instead of Pete, just because it was his song. And then that kind of started this chain effect of like, well, then Jordan presented and one of his songs got on the album and he wanted to sing it. And then it was just kind of like, well, Joey, like, do you want to sing a song? And I was like, it's like the Ringo thing, right? Where like Ringo sings a song on every Beatles album. And so
right.
Like I was like, yeah, I got to, you know? And so I sing the last song on the album, which Pete wrote, and it was like very much inspired by like a Ringo song, you know, it's like very intentionally, I think, that kind of vibe. But yeah, it was great. I mean, you know, it's definitely a cool way of like showcasing everybody's, you know, unique, like I think every song. I mean, Pete's songs are Pete, obviously, but the like the other members' songs definitely showcase our personalities, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So this is the first. Is this the first album that like other people or other members of the band have written songs on, or is it mainly just you, Pete?
So it is mainly me. I would say the last one, Jarrod definitely added some help when it came to lyrics. But this is like the first one where he like wrote a song in its entirety and like sang it as well. But yeah, majority of the past work has been like mostly me.
Yeah.
Got it. That's cool. I know this album has, yeah, like you said, this kind of reflects on the last couple of years, and you talk about some big subjects and such, like, you know, January 6th and stuff like that. Is that something that you were, I mean, because you're kind of taking a stance, right, on these things? Was that something that you were kind of concerned about as far as like how, you know, kind of, I guess my question would be like, you're kind of focused in one area, like you're being authentic to the one thing that you believe in, but like, were you worried about how other people would feel about a song like that, or as some of the subject matter?
So especially for like that song, I really didn't care about
it
polarizing, not gonna lie. Well, mostly too though, it's like that song more than anything, rather than being like screw Donald Trump, it's more of like, oh my God, like that was a horrifying day for us living in Washington, D.C. That's more
right.
rather than like the actual politics of it. So yeah, especially for like that song, that song was mostly like about my experience, like being here, like checking in on my friends who live in the city, like all of that. Like also like being in DC means that we all know people who work in the Capitol, like
right.
Obviously we were concerned for them that day. Yeah, so I definitely was not concerned with like polarizing people with that one. Yeah, that's kind of where I draw the line with like people to begin with.
There you go.
Where were you January 6th? Yeah.
I think that's like a really good like point of clarification, but also just in general, like I don't think we're overly concerned about like offending people by our, like, it's just it's sort of it's not the first time, nor will it be the last time that like there's songs that have like political themes or political like statements in them. And so like, yeah, I don't know. I think to worry too much about like somebody being offended is probably not like the best thing to occupy your mind with.
Sure.
That's just like, I think our general stance.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Mitzi Shore, Pauly Shore's mom, who ran the Comedy Store in LA and stuff, I think she has like a quote about saying like, you aren't famous until half the people hate you or something like that. I always thought that was such a good quote. Like, if everybody likes you, then you're gonna be like, there's nothing to keep people interested type deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought that was a funny quote.
Yeah, if you go out trying to please everybody, you're gonna please nobody. So
right. Yeah, that's exactly. Well, that's amazing. And then you guys just had the big show and the album's out. What, you know, what do you plan on for the record? I mean, aside from doing that huge thing, are you gonna tour the album, or what? Have you been working on new music? I mean, to just have this done and out, and it's probably like, you know, such a, you know, big moment, like, oh, it's out, like I love it. But what do you guys, after something like that comes out, are you like, okay, now I got to focus on what's coming up next?
Yeah, well, I would say we're pretty much an all gas, no breaks band. Like we're always like on to the next thing and how we can like build off of what we just did. So literally like next month, we're going to meet up with our producers and start talking about the next album. We're going to be working on, our booking agent is starting to get us some dates in new cities that we've never toured before. So like we got Columbus, Chicago, Toronto happening.
Oh, wow.
Like more cities as well, like as it goes on. And yeah, so I'd say like we're definitely gonna just like keep going with it and just seeing where we can go with the next album too. Like we're so grateful for the opportunities we've had, but we're just gonna keep chugging along as well.
It's like this is just like what we do, so it's like I don't really know how to like stop at this point.
Sure. I love it. Well, thank you both so much for taking time to do this today. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Adam, thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate it as well.
I have one more question. I want to get an answer from both of you, if that's cool. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I would say on my end, I would say like we definitely started getting the most momentum when we started putting like a 50-50 effort in marketing and with music. So it's like you can't just put all your eggs into just music, because like a lot of people think like, oh, but the music will speak for itself and like will blow up that way, but there's no one who's going to hear it. So you just really have to like go and put like an equal amount of effort into both the product that you're making, which is the music, and as well like how you're going to get new ears to listen to it. And so like for us, we really started like posting on TikTok a lot, just like shamelessly promoting our music, and like social media, like learning social media advertising, just like doing all the marketing tactics that we like that are available out there. And once we started putting in like that effort there, that's when we started seeing a lot of the results. So that would be my advice for anyone who wants to get into music. Like if you want people to hear your music, you're going to have to put in an equal amount of effort in marketing to like the actual creation of the product.
Mine is similar but less specific, I guess. Just like, you know, if it's something that you want people to take seriously, like you as an artist, like you have to take yourself incredibly seriously. And like that can be kind of like embarrassing or kind of weird, but like, you know, nobody is gonna take you more seriously than you take yourself. So like even probably we probably could have done some things differently, but we've always taken ourselves pretty seriously. Like we've never really, like, even when we were in college, like people considered us like a college band, but I don't think we ever considered ourselves that. Like, you know, you just have to approach it with like a certain level of like professionalism and seriousness, because like I said, no one's gonna assign that to you. Like you have to be the one to like present it as like real art, and like, you know, just don't have any amount of shame, or don't have any amount of like trepidation about what you're putting out there.